I'm Nicole Compton. Right now, it's an explosive episode of Deadbeat. We take you inside real child support court in Louisville, where justice is served on behalf of our local kids.
You need to make sure that you've made these payments, okay? If you haven't, then we're going to be having a different conversation.
Plus, fireworks in court as a public defender tries to shut down the show.
I'd ask that the cameras be turned off, please.
You don't want to have a free, open, and public court.
Is it freedom of the press, or is Deadbeat breaking the law? You'll hear the arguments and get a chance to weigh in yourself. I'm Nicole Compton, and right now, court is in session on Deadbeat. I'm Nicole Compton with Deadbeat. This is the show that takes you inside of child support court, where you will get to see real cases, real people, some of whom you may know. They're defending themselves against criminal charges that they have failed to meet their responsibility of paying child support. And we're here to shine a spotlight on the serious problem of child support here in Jefferson County and to search out solutions to help us with this problem to get our children what they need. But today, it feels a little bit like this show is a defendant too. Wait until you see what happens when a public defender tries to turn the law against us and our Deadbeat cameras.
I'd ask that the cameras be turned off, please.
All this in the middle of a real child support case? We'll hear both sides of the argument coming up. And today we're here with legal advisor Oliver Barber. Oliver is here to help us understand exactly what we're seeing. These are criminal cases in child support criminal court.
And you know, I'm a legal advisor and I am senior, but it's sometimes very difficult to understand what's going on, and we'll try.
The case of the public defender versus Deadbeat is coming up. But first on the docket today, Anthony Henderson. He's supposed to pay $21 a week, but he's fallen way too short of that. And he has a lot of reasons for it. Let's listen as he explains himself to Judge Erica Lee Williams.
All right, sir. You're asking for a public defender?
Yes.
Okay. Are you working?
No, ma'am.
When's the last time that you held a job?
I just got out of jail last year.
How long were you in jail?
16 months.
Okay. All right, since you're just getting on your feet, you got an arrest warrant out for you for this child support case. I'll convert it over to a summons, okay? You are to be paying $21.92 a week, just letting you know what it is, and also finding employment so you can do that, okay? Okay, and you just got out of
Oh, I got out last year, but I broke my foot. I slipped on the ice and broke my foot and had surgery, and I was in a cast for like 6 months.
Okay.
So
I thought you said you just got out of jail.
I got out last year, but I was in a cast for like 6 months. I couldn't walk for 8 months.
Right, but you just told me you just got out of jail. So what did you mean? You just got out of a cast or just got out of jail?
I just got out of the cast, but I got out of jail last year. Then I broke my foot. It was June, I believe.
And you were in 16 months?
Yes.
All right, make sure you're making these $21.92. I'm going to appoint a public defender for you. You need to make sure that you've made these payments, okay? If you haven't, then we're going to be having a different conversation. You won't be going through that door, you'll be going through the other one. So
yes, ma'am.
Make sure that $21.92 is what you owe per week, all right? Public defender card, we'll get you one and let you go and see them, okay? Thank you.
So, Anthony Henderson has been locked up for about 16 months. He's broken his foot. He's had one bad thing after another after another. It's kind of hard to get back on your feet when you've already broken one.
That's true, and not to mention stand up tall. But the problem he's got is that he didn't learn anything in 16 months. One of the things he should have learned in 16 months is that if it's not in writing, it doesn't exist. Why come in front of a judge with a broken foot and not have something from the doctor or your medical record saying, here, judge, I broke my foot, help me out?
Right.
And he should have also gotten a public defender before he went into court. You can qualify and do that. Those things would have helped him today and kept him in the good graces of the court.
Well, let's talk about a public defender for a second. Many people say, you know, I don't want a public defender, I want a real lawyer. public defenders are real lawyers. They've gone through law school, but they're afforded to people who could possibly be facing jail time. So at any moment in the process, like you said, he could have asked the judge or tried to get a public defender.
You know, and this is an important point because as a practical matter, most public defenders are 1, 2, or 3 years out of school, and then they go on to do something else. But if they're new lawyers, then they're going to be very attentive to their cases, going to be very concerned about what happens. They're trying to learn, they're trying to make their bones, their reputation, and these people do a good job 9 times out of 10.
And then you have some lifers who never leave because they really do enjoy what they do. But regardless, they're attorneys there to look out for the people that they represent.
Those lifers aren't in this court.
Still to come, a child support case takes a dramatic turn when the public defender goes on the attack.
Well, at the very least, Judge, I'd ask that the cameras conform to the Kentucky Supreme Court rules.
What are those particular?
Will he succeed in shutting down our show? And will his client keep from losing her patience? Find out still ahead on Deadbeat. Nicole Compton, back with you with more Deadbeat, the show that exposes the problem of child support here in Jefferson County and also looks for solutions on how we can get what we need for our children. Our next case involves a woman, Shanita Porter. She's come to court to claim disability, but her public defender has another issue that's burning on his mind. He wants our cameras shut down, and he's ready to go toe-to-toe with Judge Sean Delahanty to make it happen. Let's see just how this turns out in court.
Nathaniel Miller on behalf of Ms. Porter, who's present and coming forward. Good afternoon, Your Honor.
How you doing?
Doing quite well, thank you. Yourself?
Good. I'm all right.
Judge, before we launch into a discussion of Ms. Porter's case, I have a preliminary matter.
Sure.
I'd ask that the cameras be turned off, please.
So you want to have a private, you don't want to have a free, open, and public court?
Now, don't get me
appearance?
wrong, Judge. I'm actually not asking that the courtroom be closed or that the record cameras be turned off, but merely that the third-party cameras be removed.
And what's the basis for that?
Well, this court certainly has that power under Ashland and Asbury. If the court finds that Ms. Porter's constitutional rights are violated by the recording, there are 2 separate rights.
What sort of constitutional rights would be violated?
Due process, fair trial, Judge, as well.
In what way? I mean, in what way?
Well, the due process, fair trial argument is that if this case were to go to trial, materials that we present to the court now would be broadcast across the jury pool. The other one is slightly removed. There is some concern, though it's merely the appearance of impropriety, but the Deadbeat program advertises the fact that this court has endorsed the show. I'm not saying that Your Honor
I don't know
isn't...
what that means. I've endorsed the show. What does that mean?
I don't know either, Judge. I do know that it's...
Have you ever heard me say that?
I have not.
Have you ever heard me say
It
that?
is on their website, Judge.
It's on
And
their website.
my concern isn't that this court is...
And when I endorse it, does that mean like I'm financing it or something? What does that mean?
Again, Judge, I'm not the
What does
one
it
who
mean
put
to
it
you?
on the website.
What does it mean to you?
Well, what it means to me is that you approve of the show's actions and the position the show has taken.
Well, that's not exactly true. I take no part in the editorial comments of the show that you're referring to. Okay, is there something else you want to talk about?
Well, at the very least, Judge, I'd ask that the cameras conform to the Kentucky Supreme Court rules.
And what are those particular?
The rules are that there's only one camera that's to be permitted in the courtroom, and that members of the news media are not to be allowed to move about the courtroom during proceedings.
Okay. And where is the Supreme Court rule?
If Your Honor would give me 1 second, I can tender copies to the bench.
Okay. In the meantime,
We can move on with Ms. Porter's case.
Ms. Porter has provided proof of her medical treatment.
Yes, Judge, she has. I believe the county has agreed to pass this case so that Ms. Porter can obtain a copy of a letter from her treating psychiatrist saying that she is unable to work and they have agreed to give her until December the 5th, the next court date, to do so.
I don't really see this about this single camera.
Mr. Miller's client is starting to lose her patience, and it looks like he's starting to lose his argument. What will the judge decide on this? Find out when we come right back from a short recess on Deadbeat. Back with you again, Nicole Compton on Deadbeat. This is the show that entertains but educates you on criminal non-support. We've been watching the case of Shanita Porter, who came to tell the judge about a disability claim as it relates to her child support payments that have fallen behind. But her public defender was more interested in taking on this show, asking the judge to shut it down.
I don't really see this about this single camera. Not more than one portable television camera or videotape electronic camera operated by not more than one person shall be permitted in any trial court proceeding. Not more than 2 television cameras operated by not more than 1 camera person each shall be permitted by any appellate court proceeding. So the appellate court can have 2 cameras, and let's see what it says here, in any trial court proceeding.
Not that I think it's fair that appellates...
Still cameras. Not more than 1 still photographer utilizing not more than 2 still cameras. Now, I tell you what, now, Mr. Miller, that's a very interesting argument you have, but if you'll notice in our courtroom, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we have 5 cameras. Not
Yes, Judge.
I mean, that are hardwired to the building.
Understood, Judge.
Okay. Do you think this Supreme Court rule is perhaps not quite with the modern era?
Oh, it's entirely possible that the court will issue an updated version
through
later.
July 1. Okay. All right. Well, I think we're in compliance with the spirit of the Supreme Court rule here. So we're going to move forward.
Yes, Judge.
All right, Ms. Porter, so you're receiving treatment, but we're going to pass the case. And what we need to do is to get some kind of information from a doctor about your medical condition. And you need to provide that to Mr. Miller. Now, and you're supposed to be paying $18.46 a week. $18.46 a week. So you're not working at all.
I have a troubled child that's at home, and Mary, the grandmother, is trying to give me back custody of the other one. And my life's kind of tied up dealing with them and going to 7 counties and all of that for them. It's like,
well, there's a couple.
Schools calling.
Right. So you, okay. But the child that you have at home now, how old is that child?
14.
14.
And the other one's 15.
Okay. And the 14-year-old's going to school?
Yes.
But the 14-year-old has school-related issues from time to time?
No, it ain't from time to time. It's all the time.
All the time. All right. Again, what we need is some medical proof of your disability. And it may be difficult for you to work, but the part of it is we're talking about $18.46 a week, which if you work maybe 4 or 5 hours a week, you could make that money 4 or 5 hours a week. So at some point in time, you know, it may be simpler to do that than to get a letter from your doctor that says that you're incapable of working.
But her problems today have nothing to do with that piece of paper. Her problems today have to do with the fact that she had more camera time than she would have had otherwise because her lawyer decided to challenge the ability of Deadbeat to be in the courtroom, which meant that the camera spent a lot of time watching her facial expressions while he was arguing. And if he could see her facial expressions while he was arguing, then he would have shut up.
He may have realized it could have been counterproductive for his client, possibly.
I hope so, because if he goes back and looks at this tape, he'll know that she didn't like what was happening.
So what do you think? Should our cameras be allowed inside of the criminal child support court? Does the public even have the right to know and to see exactly what happens? Weigh in on the conversation as it takes place online on our Facebook page. We'd love to know what you think. Don't worry, our Deadbeat cameras are still rolling. And we have more cases to show you coming up. Next, some good news for this man's child. He appears to be getting back in line. See how the law is helping to make it happen. Next. Back with you on Deadbeat. I'm Nicole Compton, and this is the show that takes you inside real live child support court. Our goal of this show is to show you how the system works, but more importantly, how serious things can become if you don't pay your child support. We also want to help people find ways to get back in line, like this man is doing. He's a custodian at Sullivan University, and he's learning the importance of cleaning up his act when it comes to child support. To court now with Judge Erica Lee Williams presiding.
I am asking for a continuance. I'm asking to allow him to be able to make a lump sum payment in addition to his timely weekly payments.
Of $70.
Right,
okay.
to catch up to what he would have paid
okay.
by today. He is working now. He is working at Sullivan University. He's actually already done a wage assignment too. I think it's still just working out the kinks of making sure it's going through properly.
Okay.
So he says that he believes that is something he can do. We would just ask for, I know we didn't pick a date on there, but we would just ask for time for him to be able to do that now that he is working regularly.
Fantastic. You're working at Sullivan. What are you doing?
Custodian.
Good job. All right. And so you're supposed to be paying $70 a week.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
He has made some payments.
I see.
They've just been kind of
small,
different amounts, and
right. It's paying, but what that shows me is he's trying. Right? So you have all these different payments on here in different amounts, but that's good. Not what I want. But that's good that you're at least trying, right?
Yes,
okay. What we don't have is some gap of not paying anything at all. What we have to do though is get you to the $70. All right. And that's what you're going to have to pay every week.
Yes, ma'am.
You have $612.84 is what Sheriff's telling me. That's the lump sum payment.
Okay.
What you have to do is pay it before you come back to see me. So if you pay $300 here, $200 there, make sure you don't forget about the $70 that you have every single week.
Yes, ma'am.
But that lump sum, it's just going to have to total that when we come back together so that I see that you've made that lump sum. You don't have to wait until you have $612. You can do just like you've done before, which is make payments on it, and we'll just keep a separate tracking of it, okay? Ms. Rafe, what I want to do, though, is make sure he gets the proper credit for it. If he's paying, you know, the $70 a week and he's making payments towards the lump sum, you need to make sure you keep your receipts,
yes,
okay?
ma'am.
So that I can take a look at that as well.
So
It's a little confusing sometimes when we have two different goals going on. What time, do you work every day?
Yes, ma'am. I work Sunday through Thursday from 10:30 to 7 in the morning.
Okay. Did you miss, what are your hours?
10:30 to 7 in the morning.
7 in the morning. So 1 o'clock,
yeah.
you're not missing work to be here right now.
Oh, no.
Okay. Missing sleep, but you're not
Yes,
missing
exactly.
work. Okay.
Exactly.
All right. And so I made a note on here that you were to be paying your $70 a week, and on top of that, the $612.84, I made a note that you can make that portion of it in installments.
Okay.
So as long as we get that total. So we're going to come back on October 27th. What I'm going to be looking at is that hopefully your wage assignment has gone through by that point. If not, you are still responsible for paying the $70. If the wage assignment goes through and they're only taking out $60, you're responsible for the $10. Does that make sense to you? So
yes, ma'am.
You've got to make sure $70 is coming in every week from whatever sources it is, straight from your check or for you making up the difference. Because sometimes people get confused and think, well, the wage assignment, if they pick the number, that's what it is, and that's not the case. Okay. Also need to be chipping away at this 612. So I'm going to be looking at three things. Wage assignment's gone through. It's not your fault if it doesn't. We just need to make sure that it does. I don't want to lose track of it. Your $70 a week and your lump sum payment. Okay? Do you have any questions?
No, ma'am.
All right. Okay? All right, very good.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
Then these are the kind of cases that we like to see. Mr. Johnson has got himself a job as a custodian. It looks like he's also cleaned up his act.
And I think this is a gratifying case. It's somebody that has done what the court asked it to do.
Yes.
He has come up with this job. He's been able to take care of his child support, take care of his child, has a good job at a upstanding university, and things are going forward for him.
Right. We love seeing when people get back in line. That is the absolute best thing that could happen with this show.
And that's part of what we're here for, to give people an idea of how they can get things done, how they can stay out of this court, how they can deal with the judges, and in some cases deal with their lawyers.
Right, what to do and what not to do, and this is a success story. That's going to do it for this show. If you're having trouble collecting from a deadbeat ex, or you just need help getting back in line, better yet, you want to weigh in on the conversation from earlier on whether or not our cameras should be in the courtroom, be sure to find us on Facebook, where we will continue the discussion online. For Oliver Barber, I'm Nicole Compton, and this is Deadbeat.